Some birds chirp, some singing. But in the Amazon, birds hiss, scream, click, and dance like they're auditioning for a wildlife rave. This isn't your grandma's birdwatching tour. This is the jungle, a tangled cathedral of trees, insects, and creatures so weird, they make Jurassic Park look like a petting zoo. In this video, we're diving deep into the world's most intense rainforest to meet 15 birds so rare, so wild, you won't find them anywhere else quite like this. From birds that digest food like cows, to ones that scream louder than rock concerts, or wear feathers that look like fire and gemstones. These aren't just birds. They're living myths dressed in feathers and armed with superpowers. Welcome to Birds of the Amazon. Let's start with one that literally has claws on its wings. At first glance, the Hudson looks like a punk rock chicken that got lost in the wrong era. But the truth is, this bird didn't get lost. It just never left the past. The Hudson is often called the stink bird because, well, it smells terrible, like a barnyard compost smoothie. That's because it's the only bird in the world that digests food like a cow. Seriously, instead of a gizzard like normal birds, it ferments leaves in its enlarged crop, a process that creates the exact kind of stench you're imagining. But that's not the weirdest part. Baby Hudsons are born with actual claws on their wings, not feather stubs, not weird bones, functional claws. When predators approach, the chicks drop into the water, swim to safety, then climb back up trees using their wing claws like some mini dino parrots on a mission. Scientists consider the Hudson one of the most primitive birds still alive, a living fossil whose family tree split off millions of years ago. It's like if evolution pressed pause, then said, good enough. Despite all that, Hudsons are peaceful leaf eaters. They live in noisy social groups along swampy rivers, in oxbow lakes throughout the Amazon. They don't migrate, they don't sing. They just hiss, growl, and occasionally make a sound that's best described as a zombie pigeon clearing its throat. Strange? Totally. But that's what makes the Amazon. And the Hudson? It's not just a bird, it's evolution's inside joke, still flying after 64 million years. Imagine looking up into the canopy and seeing something the size of a golden retriever, with wings. That's not an exaggeration. Meet the Harpy Eagle, the apex predator of the Amazon sky. This bird doesn't chirp, it doesn't flutter, it launches through the jungle like a feathery missile and snatches monkeys straight out of trees. Let's talk stats. A wingspan of up to 7.5 feet, standing nearly 3.5 feet tall, and weighing close to 20 pounds. That's larger than some dogs. But here's the real kicker. Its talons are up to 5 inches long, roughly the size of a grizzly bear's claw. One squeeze from those and, yeah, you're not going anywhere. Their legs are thicker than a human wrist, and their glare? Think Gordon Ramsay meets Greek goddess of vengeance. Despite their massive size, Harpy Eagles are shockingly stealthy. They fly low and silently, weaving through branches like a jungle ghost. What's on the menu? Sloths, capuchin monkeys, and sometimes other large birds. They hunt from perches high above, then dive with terrifying speed. Indigenous communities in the Amazon often revere the harpy as a spirit guardian of the forest. And honestly, if any bird deserves that title, it's this one. But sadly, they're becoming harder to find. Habitat loss and deforestation have put them on the near-threatened list. So today, catching a glimpse of a harpy in the wild isn't just rare. It's unforgettable. It's not just the biggest eagle in the Americas. It's the jungle's silent executioner. Feathered, fierce, and completely unforgiving. And when it stares at you from the treetops, you don't feel like a bird watcher, you feel like prey. Most birds sing sweet melodies. This one sounds like it's summoning ancient jungle spirits through a subwoofer. Meet the Amazonian Umbrellabird, a walking mystery in feather form. At first glance, you might think this bird is just a really tired crow. But look closer. It has a massive pompadour-style crest that droops over its beak like a feathered helmet, and a long, inflatable wattle. That's a fleshy tube on its neck, covered in velvety black feathers. When it calls, that wattle inflates and emits a deep, booming sound that echoes across the rainforest. Think jungle didgeridoo. These calls aren't just for show. They're part of an elaborate mating performance where males gather in leks, basically nature's version of The Bachelor, and try to outboom each other to attract females. The lower the call, the better, because in the jungle, deep equals dominant. The Umbrellabird isn't much of a flyer. Its body is bulky, and it moves in slow, awkward hops through the canopy. But it doesn't need to fly fast. It's not chasing prey. It just sits, calls, and waits for the ladies to come to the show. Fun fact, that neck wattle can grow up to 14 inches long, and when not in use, it just dangles there like a Gothic necktie. Sadly, like many Amazonian species, the Umbrellabird is threatened by deforestation. So if you ever hear a sound like a foghorn trapped in a cave, look up. That's not thunder, that's a bird in full performance mode. When it comes to flirting, this bird doesn't just sing, it dances. And not just any dance. This guy performs coordinated choreography with his bird bros, synchronized jumps, rapid slides, and even a backward moonwalk, all to impress the ladies. Meet the Wiretailed Mannequin, the Amazon's smallest professional dancer. It's about the size of a ping-pong ball with wings, but don't let the size fool you. This bird's got moves. Males gather in performance zones called leks, where they practice and perform courtship routines. And yes, sometimes two males team up to show off their routine to a single female. One jumps, the other spins. They perch to switch at lightning speed, then freeze. If she's impressed, the more dominant male gets the date. Nature is wild. What makes them extra eye-catching are those ultra-thin wire-like tail feathers, which curve out dramatically behind them. They shimmer, reflect light, and add flair to every move, like sparkly shoelaces in a dance battle. Their plumage is equally bold, jet black body, bright yellow cap, and subtle red thighs. It's giving, tiny feathered Power Ranger. And here's a fun fact. Male mannequins practice their moves long before reaching maturity. That's right, these birds literally train for years before they're even allowed to perform. While many tropical birds are known for color, the wire-tailed mannequin is here to prove that rhythm gets results. And in the Amazon, if you want to win hearts, sometimes you gotta dance your tail feathers off. You've heard this bird before, even if you didn't know it. Ever watched a jungle scene in a movie? Mist rising, howler monkeys calling, vines swaying. And there's that iconic, echoing jungle scream in the background? Yeah, that's not a monkey. That's the screaming Piha. Arguably the loudest bird in the Amazon, this little gray puffball unleashes a call that reaches over 110 decibels. That's about as loud as a rock concert or a chainsaw at full blast. From a bird the size of a grapefruit, you can hear it half a mile away, echoing through the canopy like the forest itself is calling out. But here's the kicker. The screaming Piha is painfully boring to look at. Just plain gray. No fancy feathers. No dancing. No colorful crest. It's like the bird version of a guy in sweatpants with a megaphone. But that's part of its genius. While other birds go for visual flash, the Piha goes for pure volume. Males perch quietly, motionless, until it's time to shout their love into the jungle. Their calls aren't random either. They're part of an acoustic territory system. Males stake out space by sheer vocal power, hoping to attract a female who's impressed by lung capacity. Fun fact, their calls are so cinematic, they've been used in movies like The Lost World, Indiana Jones, and BBC Planet Earth. So the next time you hear that echoing jungle cry, don't look for a panther or some mythical beast. It's just this little gray guy screaming his heart out. In a jungle full of loud mouths and fashion icons, this bird is all about vibes. It doesn't scream, it doesn't dance, it just sits quietly, looking like it's got life all figured out. Meet the Amazonian motmot, the coolest bird in the canopy, hands down. Picture this, a serene emerald green body, deep blue crown, a black mask like Zorro, and most notably, a tail that ends in two perfect little paddles. And here's where it gets awesome. This bird doesn't just sit still, it swings its tail side to side like a slow motion pendulum. No one's quite sure why. Some scientists think it's a signal to predators like, "Yeah, I see you. I'm not panicking." Others think it's a flirt move, like a slow wink, with tail feathers. But either way, it's hypnotic. Mutmots are also smart hunters. They perch quietly on branches, then dart down to snatch up insects, small reptiles, or fruit. Unlike most rainforest birds that make a ruckus, the motmot is a master of stillness, calm, elegant, and totally unbothered. Oh, and fun fact, those weird paddle-shaped tail tips, they're self-styled. The birds pluck the middle part of the feather shaft so it falls off naturally, leaving just the ends like twin pendulums. Yep, this bird gives itself a custom haircut, jungle style. So if you're ever walking the rainforest and you spot a bird with the swagger of a samurai and a tail that dances like jazz, chances are it's the Amazonian motmot. If tropical birds had a fashion week, the paradise tanager would be on the cover of Vogue. Bright neon green back, turquoise belly, deep blue wings, a black mask across the face like a superhero. And the kicker? A rear end that literally glows in hot pink or crimson red, depending on the region. It's like someone turned the saturation up to 100 and just said, "Yeah, this looks natural." Meet the paradise tanager, the walking highlighter of the Amazon rainforest. These little showstoppers aren't very big, just around 5 inches long. But when they fly past, they look like a blur of rainbow lightning. And here's the wild part. This level of color, it's not for mating. Scientists believe the bold colors actually help them recognize other tanager species, because there are dozens of tanagers in the Amazon alone. In other words, hey, I'm not your cousin, don't flirt with me. Paradise tanagers travel in small, energetic flocks, often buzzing through the mid-canopy like a confetti storm. They eat fruit, berries, and sometimes insects. And they rarely sit still long enough for birdwatchers to get that perfect photo. But when you do catch them in the right light, they look more like CGI than biology. Fun fact, despite the name Chilensis, they're not from Chile at all. The name came from an old naming mistake by early European naturalists. So no, they're not Chilean. They're 100% Amazonian, and probably the only bird that makes you say, "Okay, calm down, you're too pretty." If fire were a bird, it would probably look like the crimson topaz. This isn't your average hummingbird. It's longer, flashier, and somehow even sassier. Imagine a creature with a deep crimson body, gold-green highlights that shift with the light, and a tail so long and dramatic, it looks like it was designed for a red carpet entrance. At first, you might think you're looking at a floating ruby with wings, but watch it move, and you'll see the split tail streamers trailing behind like twin daggers. They twist and flick midair with insane control. This is not a bird built for subtlety. The crimson topaz lives deep in the lowland rainforests of the Amazon, especially near rivers and streams, because nothing this fabulous lives in dry places. Males can reach up to 9 inches long, but most of that length is the tail, which they use like a built-in flag to wave around while feeding or showing off. They feed on nectar, just like other hummingbirds, but will also eat insects, because even glitterbirds need protein. Their wings beat so fast they create a soft, buzzing hum, but it's their appearance that really makes noise. And here's a fun fact. Crimson topaz is one of the largest hummingbirds in the world. So next time you picture a hummingbird as small and dainty, remember this Amazonian showstopper that looks like it flew straight out of a fantasy novel and into the jungle. If this bird had a motto, it would be small but take up space. This bird is proof that doing absolutely nothing can be a survival superpower. Meet the great potu, aka the invisible bird. During the day, it doesn't fly, it doesn't sing, it doesn't move. It just sits, stone still, on the end of a broken tree branch, head upright, eyes closed, beak tilted to the sky, posing as part of the tree. And it's so good at this, even expert birdwatchers walk right past without noticing. But wait until night falls. That's when the great potu wakes up and starts making sounds that will haunt your dreams. Its call is a slow, moaning wail, somewhere between a ghost with a sore throat and a lonely banshee echoing through the jungle. 1 minute, silence. The next, wow. This eerie call has spooked plenty of campers. But the potu, it's not trying to scare anyone. It's just looking for love. These nocturnal birds feed on large insects and sometimes even small bats, snatching them mid-air with a wide, gaping mouth. And that beak, it looks tiny from a distance until it opens into a full-on frog mouth that could swallow a moth the size of your palm. Fun fact, they don't build nests. They lay a single egg on top of a flat tree stump. No twigs, no leaves, just vibes. So if you ever feel like blending in, disappearing, and making creepy sounds at night, congratulations, you might be part potu. At first glance, this bird looks like a modest little heron, earth-toned, slim, and quietly walking along a riverbank. But then, it opens its wings, and boom, instant drama. Meet the sunbittern, a bird that carries a sunburst on each wing. When threatened, excited, or showing off, it raises its wings in a wide fan, revealing bright orange, red, and black eye-like patterns that look like twin explosions of light. Think, jungle peacock meets solar flare. It's one of the most surprising reveals in the rainforest. And it's not just for looks. Those markings are thought to be defensive, startling predators with sudden color and the illusion of large eyes. But they also play a role in courtship. Because hey, nothing says I'm hot like literally being a symbol of the sun. Sunbitterns are mostly found near streams and forest edges in the Amazon, where they walk slowly and deliberately, like they're balancing a teacup on their heads. They feed on insects, small amphibians, and even tiny fish, and are known for their graceful stalking technique. But here's a twist. Though they look like herons, they're actually closer relatives to Kagu birds of New Caledonia. Yeah, we didn't see that coming either. Fun fact, sunbitterns have one of the few recorded wing display dances in birds, where they raise and rotate their wings to specific angles, almost like a martial arts form, jungle Tai Chi. Calm, elegant, and armed with hidden fire, the sunbittern proves that in the Amazon, still waters hide flaming wings. Imagine you're walking through the jungle and suddenly, bam! A bright orange fireball zips past your head. That wasn't a fruit. That was the Gan and Cock of the rock. And yes, it knows it looks amazing. With its vivid tangerine plumage, jet black wings, and an enormous half-moon crest covering most of its face, this bird looks like it was styled by a K-pop idol and a fruit vendor. But make no mistake, this bird's life is all about one thing, performance. Males gather in open display areas called leks, yes, like the mannequins, where they sing, bounce, fluff their feathers, and basically hold the jungle version of a dance battle, except it's all solo. And the prize, one very selective female. The males don't help raise the chicks, they don't help build the nest, they just want to look fabulous, get picked, and move on. If birds had reality TV, this would be The Bachelorette, Amazon edition. Gan and Cock of the rocks prefer rocky cliffs and forest edges and build their nests on sheer rock walls using mud and saliva, basically bird cement. Fun fact, that wild crest isn't just for show, it actually modifies their voice, allowing them to project their calls louder and in different tones, almost like an acoustic dome. So next time you see a flash of orange flying through the forest, remember, it's not a citrus fruit on fire, it's a flamboyant rock star of the rainforest, just doing his thing. It's bold, it's bright, and its beak is ridiculous. Meet the Toco Toucan, basically the mascot of tropical birds. You've seen it in cartoons, cereal boxes, and travel ads. But behind that fun image is a bird built for serious survival and a few party tricks. First, the obvious, that enormous orange bill. It can grow up to 8 inches long, which is about 1/3 of the bird's total length. You'd think that would make it heavy, right? Nope. It's made of a honeycomb-like structure, strong but lightweight, like bird carbon fiber. But wait, this isn't just a flashy ornament. That beak acts as a heat regulator. When the toucan gets hot, it increases blood flow to the beak, which then radiates heat like a built-in air conditioner. Basically, giant beak equals jungle radiator. Toco toucans live in canopy forests and savannas near the Amazon basin. hopping between branches with a surprisingly awkward bounce. They eat fruit mostly, but also insects, eggs, and baby birds. Yeah, that cute beak has a dark side. And fun fact, toucans can toss food into the air and catch it mid-fall, like little fruit ninjas. Their eyes are surrounded by a bright blue orbital ring, giving them an almost cartoonish expression, wide-eyed and always judging. Despite looking a little silly, the toucan is a master of thermoregulation, a clever opportunist, and yes, still one of the most iconic birds in the entire rainforest. So the next time you see that giant orange beak, remember, it's not just there to look cool, it's literally keeping this bird alive. Most of the time, this bird looks like your average flycatcher, brownish, tiny, kind of forgettable. But when it gets startled, flirty, or just wants to throw a little drama, boom, royalty mode activated. Meet the Amazonian royal flycatcher, a bird that literally wears a hidden crown. At rest, it looks like nothing special, but when excited, it unfurls a fan-shaped crest so bright and bizarre, you'd think it stepped out of a fantasy game. Males sport a flaming scarlet-red crest tipped with violet and black. Females get the same dramatic crown, but in sunset orange. This crest isn't always visible. It's usually tucked away like a folded umbrella, but when deployed, it flares out in a perfect semicircle, almost like a royal fan or a samurai helmet. Biologists still debate the full purpose. Some say it's for courtship, others think it's to startle predators or intruders. Either way, it screams, "I may be small, but I came to slay." Royal flycatchers live deep in humid lowland rainforests, often near rivers, where they snatch insects in midair. They're part of the tyrant flycatcher family, which sounds aggressive, but in truth, they're quiet, peaceful, and solitary. Fun fact, they build massive hanging nests that can be over 6 feet long, suspended from branches or even hanging over streams, like jungle hammocks. So next time you see a plain-looking brown bird in the rainforest, don't judge too quickly. It might just be a hidden monarch, with a crown waiting to shine. Every ecosystem has its freeloaders. And in the Amazon, few pull it off with more stealth and swagger than the black-spotted beareye. First off, yes, that's its real name. And no, you probably wouldn't notice it unless it was moving. This bird is small, dark-feathered, and equipped with a bare patch of skin around its eyes, giving it a slightly intense, mysterious look, like it's been up all night plotting something. And in a way, it has. Because the black-spotted beareye has one trick. It follows army ants. Here's how it works. Army ants travel in massive, moving swarms, sweeping across the forest floor, flushing out everything. Spiders, crickets, beetles, even small lizards. But the ants don't eat them all. Some escape, and that's where our friend steps in. The beareye hangs just behind the swarm, picking off the panicked insects fleeing from the ants, never touching a single ant itself. It's like a shadow hunter, letting the chaos unfold and then reaping the rewards. It doesn't just do this for fun, it's built for it. Studies show that the beareye will follow the same ant columns day after day, even competing with other ant-following birds for position. It's developed an entire survival strategy based on precision freeloading. Fun fact, beareyes often form mixed species flocks with other ant followers, and there's a loose pecking order, like VIP tiers at a buffet line. So while it's not flashy, not loud, and not particularly social, the black-spotted beareye is a master tactician, surviving not by speed or strength, but by reading the battlefield and swooping in when it counts. If the black-spotted beareye is the tactician, the white-plumed antbird is the silent assassin. Cloaked in brown and black, with a ghostly white crest that looks like a plume of smoke, this bird glides through the jungle underbrush like it's on a mission. And it is, because like its cousin, the white-plumed antbird is also an ant follower. But here's the difference. It's faster, feistier, and often one of the first birds to show up when the army ants start marching. It positions itself right in front of the swarm's path, anticipating the panic, the fleeing bugs, and snatching them mid-run before they even know what hit them. With quick jabs and laser focus, this bird turns other species' terror into its own private buffet. It doesn't just join the party, it runs the front line. The white plumes on its face, actually modified feathers, give it an elegant, almost ceremonial look, like it's dressed for a jungle funeral that it's probably causing. And unlike many flashy birds of the Amazon, the white-plumed antbird isn't trying to impress anyone. It doesn't sing love songs, it doesn't dance, it just shows up, cleans house, and disappears. Fun fact, scientists use antbirds like this to track ant swarms because where they are, the ants aren't far behind. So the next time you hear rustling in the undergrowth and catch a glimpse of white flickering in the shadows, it's not a ghost. It's a feathered hunter dressed in white and built for chaos. So there you have it, 15 of the Amazon's most mysterious, marvelous, and sometimes mildly unhinged birds. From screaming ghosts to dancing ping pong balls, hidden crowns to built-in air conditioners, this rainforest isn't just biodiverse, it's downright cinematic. But hey, did we miss your favorite jungle bird? Drop it in the comments below. We read every single one. Yes, even the ones written in all caps. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and hit that little bell-shaped subscribe button. Just kidding, it's still a bell. Thanks for watching. And remember, in the Amazon, even the quietest birds have the wildest stories. See you in the next jungle.